Before he became the blabbering, lovable idiot on TNT, Charles Barkley was an 11-time NBA All-Star and Hall of Fame player. Standing at just 6'4" without shoes, Barkley routinely matched up against 7-footers and dominated. His unique body composition combined with his passing and rebounding made him a true NBA unicorn before the term was ever invented. None of us thought we'd ever see another superstar built like Barkley until now. At 6'6" and 285 pounds, Zion is way heavier than a modern NBA player should be. But none of this was enough to deter the Pelicans from drafting him #1 overall in the 2019 draft. His potential is limitless. His star power already sells out arenas, and perhaps more importantly, he seems like a decent human being off the court. Kind of quiet, doesn't know how to talk to girls. It's relatable.
Oh, beautiful.
But potential is just that, potential. Plenty of NBA superstars have retired with unfulfilled potential, including, as one would argue, Charles Barkley, who was one of the greatest players to never win a championship. In this video, I want to hit on a couple of things that Zion can learn from Charles Barkley's career, and we have to start with the most pressing concern surrounding Zion right now: his weight. As of the making of this video, Zion has yet to make his official NBA debut. He's been sidelined for 2 months now, recovering from a knee surgery. This has prompted a lot of discussion about his weight. Since we're comparing Zion to Charles Barkley in this video, why not hear what Charles Barkley himself had to say on this topic?
I don't think he can play at that weight long extended periods of time at 285. I just don't believe it.
Barkley played in college weighing 300 pounds. When he came into the league first, he actually had no intention of losing that weight until his Hall of Fame teammate Moses Malone straight up told him, "You're fat," at which point Barkley lost about 50 pounds, settling into his ideal playing weight of 250. Zion is about an inch or two taller than Barkley and probably more athletic. One might argue that if Barkley could play at 250, then Zion could play at 285. Here's why I don't think that's the case. Charles Barkley came into the league in 1984 when most power forwards still played inside the paint, when being heavier could be an advantage in fighting for rebounding position. Today's NBA is much different. It's faster. Rotations are quicker. Players spend more time running up and down the courts than they did in the 80s and 90s. Zion will be asked to guard the three-point line and switch onto wing players, something Barkley rarely had to do. Losing 30 pounds would improve Zion's stamina and lateral quickness. Those benefits outweigh the modicum of strength he'd lose. Then, of course, there's the injury risk. There's a reason why many superstars, including LeBron, decided to slim down in recent years. It takes pressure off your joints, which is why Zion's knee injury understandably prompts discussion about his weight. Charles Barkley didn't have many major injuries throughout his career, but he did have a lot of nagging injuries that weren't helped by his weight. If Barkley was 100% healthy in the 1995 playoffs, they probably would have beaten the Rockets in the second round, and who knows after that. On top of all of that, Zion's aggressive playstyle makes him even more of a risk. People have compared the way he barrels to the rim recklessly to the way a young Derrick Rose used to play. The question in my mind is not whether or not Zion can play at 285. The question should be, would Zion be better if he dropped from 285 to, let's say, 250? And I think when you take into account injury risk and improved lateral quickness and stamina, the answer should be unequivocally yes. Brian has made a series of excellent videos on Zion's injury and weight situation, so if you want a medical professional's take on it, I will link his YouTube channel in the description below. In the second part of the video, I want to go over what Charles Barkley's game can teach Zion from a skill set perspective. Now, the biggest difficulty is comparing players across eras. Charles Barkley played in an era with far less spacing. He played against big men who were on average slower footed and bulkier. Nonetheless, there are some things we can look at. The first is transition offense. Charles Barkley was a one-man wrecking crew in transition. He could dribble well for his position, and especially in his younger Philly days, just explode into unblockable dunks when he had momentum. Zion clearly has that same athleticism, and he's shown that he has some handles as well. Now, one aspect of transition offense that often gets overlooked by fans is just how taxing it is on your stamina. Nobody can run full sprint down the court every time their team gets a defensive rebound. younger, healthier players tend to do so more often than older players just because they have the energy to do so. Again, losing weight would help Zion in this regard, because if he doesn't have the stamina, he simply wouldn't be able to take advantage of this part of his game. The second thing Zion can learn from Barkley's game is passing. Charles Barkley in his prime was an amazing isolation and post-up player, so much so that most teams would instantly double team him if he ever got the ball down low. As a counter to those double teams, Barkley developed a very underrated passing game as time went on, able to find spots where he can shovel the ball to a center or kick it out to open teammates on the perimeter. While the post-up is far less viable in today's league, learning how to pass is not. When Zion drives to the rim, teams will learn to send help defense at him early to stop his momentum before he gets the chance to lift off, at which point he'll need to learn how to make the right reads. The third thing Zion can learn from Barkley is shooting. I think it's unfair to say that Charles Barkley had a disappointing career, because he didn't. He was a Hall of Famer, but he could have been even better offensively had he worked more on his jump shot. Barkley is statistically one of the worst three-point shooters in NBA history at 26%, and he did take about 2,000 threes in his career. His mid-range game, especially on the baseline, was much more reliable, and that again was something he relied on more as time went on. Currently, Zion has shown little promise on his jump shots. The form is particularly bad. If he can't shoot, he'll run into the same issue that Ben Simmons has, where he'll play more or less like a center in the half-court offense, setting screens and rolling to the rim. I will say, to Zion's credit, the one thing that I do love about Zion's game in comparison to Barkley is that Zion is a better defender. He will be a much better defender than Barkley. Barkley was a really good defensive rebounder. He was a decent post defender, but he couldn't block, he couldn't guard pick and rolls, and he didn't have great defensive IQ, nor, quite frankly, did he give much effort on defense consistently. If Zion wants to, he can be an all-NBA level defender with his versatility, but again, stamina and conditioning is a very underrated part of playing defense. If you're gassed 5 minutes into the game, you're not going to rotate as hard on every play, you're not going to contest every shot, you're not going to move your feet as well when you're trapping pick and rolls. So here's my final conclusion. Charles Barkley came into the league, a high draft pick, and realized that he needed to change his body in order to play in the NBA at a high level. And so he did. He changed his body and he became one of the best players of his era. Zion Williamson has the chance to be even better. Let's hope he stays healthy. Okay, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. But before you go, I want to give a quick shout out to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. I've been using VPNs my whole life, since I was in middle school, because growing up in China, there's a lot of content that is banned that you can only access through a VPN. But even if you live in the US, let's say, there's still a lot of content that is only available in other countries. There are Netflix shows, so many Netflix shows that you can otherwise access with a VPN. Most recently, I've switched to NordVPN, and it's great. It's quick, easy to use, and reliable. You can go to nordvpn.com/MDJ to learn more about what they do. Currently, they have a holiday offer, 81% off of a 3-year plan, plus an extra 4 months free, plus a NordVPN password manager that is worth about $200 in value. So again, go to nordvpn.com/MDJ to check out what they have to offer. Okay, well, that's it for today's video. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.